Hello guys. So I was asked to talk about Colosseum Infinity and if I could give you guys a few tips for it. So I'm pretty much going to start with the few basic things you need to know, one or two tips that you can use to take advantage of, and then the two comps that can run it, either utility or one-hit KO meta. So when you're looking at Colosseum Infinity, the big difference between that and Colosseum of Despair is one that you can't alternate players between floors who will hurt you in certain aspects. You don't actually heal at the end of the match, and you can't repeat a level unlimited amount of time hoping to get lucky on an RNG specific rule. So how is this really going to affect us? This means that we're going to be much more careful on the life we have, on having healers in a team, on actives, and also certain comps are just no longer going to be viable in this mode. A trick, though, that you can use to kind of counter the fact that you're going to be losing life, around every 7 to 10 floors, I find, you will find what we call a goalkeeper match. It's the usual thing, except they don't just give you goalkeepers anymore. It's ridiculously easy, and the best way to maximize on one of those is actually to bring your entire team back to 100%. And the trick to doing that is sticking a Diamantes in frontline as a support player. Don't put him as a main player on your team because it's not worth it, but as a support that you will only be using for this match, it is very useful because all you're going to be using is recover 10% of life of the entire ally team with a pass and reduce their action speed just so they can't counter you as much. It's always helpful. Combining this will allow you to bring back your team to 100%. You don't even need to have a really invested Diamantes. I mean, Mun's one superb. His EE and plus 95, that kind of says something. I mean, even stone-wise, they're honestly pretty bad. If you want to waste a bit of energy on building him, giving him a light pass, get him some speed and some speed sub on the first stone, that's really all you need to do. If you have what is that thing called? The new light pass, the old light passer you need, give it to him. It'll make him move faster. Now, the second thing that you're going to be able to notice is going to be that a lot of goalkeepers are going to be repeating, meaning it's a really mono-ish kind of land. So on support slot, especially if you're not running the one-hit KO, it can be very powerful to alternate elemental resistance totems because it's not just blocking the striker's damage, it's going to block the entire backline or whatever line you stick it on. Now let's go into the utility aspect of how one can solve Colosseum Infinity. The utility view tends to have a very common setup. The setup is very similar to PvP in certain aspects. The usual rule is going to be you have one strong passer in front line. You're going to have a strong totem. Yuri is great, especially if you give her EMB. And then you're going to have your striker. I personally like Vanchi, but whatever's up to you. If you can, of course, if you want to replace this totem by a totem that also has an affection chain of your striker or a different type of chain, it's always up to you. Just that's kind of the meta of how we run the front line. Now, midline, the formula I found who really brings the most value is going to be penetrator and forward passer combined with a leader that gives speed. The reason I do this is very simple. Duke can hold the ball like a god and can destroy anything in his way. I know that a few players are getting pretty close to that level. I think Singh was getting really great at the E he got. Some other players can hold. If you really want to make a wall, you can always stick a white guardian anywhere you want. Then you have the forward passer, just especially at the beginning of the game. It's pretty great to have one. I usually stick Ignition Catalyst on them. The idea is basically that the minute the game starts, either Lin may steal, Lin may start to the ball, gives it to Balton, Balton activates to Vanchi, Vanchi shoots, then they pass it back in the midline and backline. But by the time we finish this entire war in mid and back, and I'm bringing it back front, they're back on their actives reset, and I'm already at a high level of action bar just because I have a backline with Metatron and Beth. Now, for Marianne, that's personally my choice. Just because she gives increased critical damage and she has increased entire team's attack power and action speed. If you want to put a second passer, that's also an option. There's some very good options. If you feel you're weak on life, you can always put a Sami. If you've got a Nabi, well, you can stick Nabi. The reason why I use her is really because I run Vanchi and the speed buff's great. It also really allows me to maximize the other players in certain positions. Now, if we're looking at a backline, what you're usually going to try to have is the free man rule. One player ideally can heal your back, one player can penetrate out of your back, and one player is a totem. So it's very visible in my line. Metatron is the healer in the sense that whenever she's shot at, she's going to recover the life and the action bar of the entire team. Shaman, well, I mean, I don't think I need to explain to you guys. Critical damage, 50% life, DR, recover spirit on death. It's like the best totem you've ever seen. And then my penetrator in my case is Valkyrie Beth. Some people are also using Shoot for that. It's a pretty good idea. Curl is also interesting. Anything that's really strong, capable of penetrating. You're not really forced to use a legend for this job. I know some Thunder people are even using Hillguard just because she burns Action Bar and Spirit. A lot of stuff can be used as long as you're able to keep them powerful enough to penetrate, or if you want to be shot at, it's really up to you. The thing is, you're going to try to have something that generates Action Bar and Backline most of the time to really be able, when you penetrate out of Backline, to just be able to move without the enemy ever having it move. Now, when we're trying to maximize the support slot, what you need to do is look at two things. One, do you think your back is going to die when you're looking at the opposing team? For example, you're Mono Wormwind and you see you're on floor 60 and you're seeing a William. In that case, yeah, you might think, if I don't have a Magnus, maybe time to throw in support Magnus and backline is a good idea. Now, that's the one of the ways. So elemental resistance totem, backline totems, any form of totem for survival can be great. The second way is going to be a frontline totem. For example, if you're facing something that has too high critical resistance, like a very high strong Wormwind team, you tell yourself, man, I'm not going to crit. That happens to me a few times. So when I see that, the first thing I do is my support just becomes Armel. I stick that in. So I got Balteon, Yuri, Armel, Vonchi, and I'm pretty much set off because Armel buffs Vonchi as hell. I use Armel active and it just works. If not, of course, I'm trying to point out 5-star players more for you guys. In midline now, if you do have Nabi and you're not running her in the main comp, you can use her as support for obvious reasons. You can throw a support midline Askeladd. Anything really strong that you just feel would help you in a way is always great. But just in case you do own Nabi, who I don't think a lot of us do, the reason why you would be sticking her is for a single purpose, is for just one skill, decreasing the life recovery. Now you're doing this because certain goalkeepers have very strong recovery. Anyone who's faced high-level COD as Cilia, who's running a Lucid Striker, knows the pain. Now that's one of the tricks, and the second trick is putting a frontline support Alios. Like this, you're able to debuff a goalkeeper who only has an active form of healing. When I'm saying that, I'm thinking specifically of a player like Robin, whose only form of healing is inactive. The minute you use the Alios free movement skill, he can't heal. Then you can do whatever you want, he's just never healing, and that's going to be removing a very strong part of his kit. Also, can be used on Ks because they stack. You can think of all the rules of how certain things can be combined. Some do require legends, some don't. It's pretty much the basics. Now, if we want to look at the one-hit KO meta, a player I'm always going to advise to check out because he's really great at that is our good old friend Enox. He's also on the forum, on the Discord. I mean, he can give you advice as always. He's pretty chill. Again, if you hold it, you can see people's comps. Just move around, and this is, from the looks of it, his Colosseum of Infinity team, because he does realize the chance of not starting with the ball was very visible by the way his team is built. Now, first thing that we were going to note, Miri has now replaced Char as the queen of PvE just because her skills are completely broken, and you can just change her for Shal of Balmug, SOB as we call it, to auto critical damage, and the Wormwind Pen is honestly pretty great. Knowing that she's going to be buffing all these stones, all her kit is pretty great. We can see he's already force transcending her. I mean, 14 since she's been out for what, less than a month? That's pretty damn good. A great assist is always going to be Celas. The only thing you need to know is you need to reroll him for Endless Burning Matter, who's a little bit annoying. But except for that, he's going to give you a decent amount of critical rate. He has a great active. He's going to increase the attack power of enemies. If you can steal that, it's always great. And it's going to increase the damage that they receive. And it's going to decrease their defense, so just really increases the damage you do. So overall, he can be pretty great as a support. You don't need to max him out. As you see, he's not maxed out. The only reason he's 7 stars for the EMB reroll. And then you got a good old friend Balteon. I'm guessing he just wanted the damage, so he stayed of Silent Cold, 2 Ardor pass effects, and Endless Abyssy. I don't know why he's running this. Oh, for the pass value. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Also, if you have a pass stone of a high value, whatever works for you. The idea again for him was to get more pass. So this is kind of the front line a one-hit KO is going to run. On a one-hit KO level, you're usually really going to want to own a Balteon. Char is fine. Celas is a 5-star. Again, 2 5-star. Those are kind of fine. Now for the Ace, as always, Jiho is kind of the best. If you don't, there's a Dark 4-star that gives a huge pass effect buff. Um, there's two free other ones. There's a Thunder one that gives action speed when your life's above 80%. That's a 5-star though. So you gotta just check those out. I don't remember the name of everyone. I'm sorry, guys. Then for totems and other players, of course, he decided to throw our good old friend Curl, just because Curl has that insanely powerful skill. Cries of Glory, increased attack power and critical damage of allied team, combined with Jiho, who's also buffing up the line. It's very powerful. He's got DD Evo just for the spirit start. Action speed is pretty nice, but it's really for preparation. Bonus gauge when the game starts. It's very powerful once again. So the idea here is going to be that they arrive. Most of the time, they're going to be able to beat him. If not, he's just going to pass. They penetrate, ideally a slowdown. They hit Metatron. From Metatron, it goes to the IC Nezarel. Yeah, I could have bet it. It goes from her. It goes directly to Askeladd. And from Askeladd, it's going to be forward pass to Miri. Now, looking at this backline, I don't think that the actual support is Nikita, to be honest. I do believe that the support is this Wormwind Guide Fenir to be able to really max out on the spirit generation. Recover 50% spirit while allies within the position when an active skill is being used. The reason you're doing that is also because there are chains with Miri, and that's going to bring a lot of potential value. So combining all of that is going to give some very high damage output, who's why he's able to go very high. If you look on the forum, I think he was showing a picture of him hitting a ridiculous value. So this is pretty much the comp that he's running, and it's a very strong strat if you're able to make it run. There's a few different versions you can run. You don't need all of these legends, but these are pretty much the ones you're going to need to be able to have or to use if you're in endgame PvP. Now, again, as I was saying, you're not forced to run it. If you have Askeladd, I mean, you could put Linmei here. It really doesn't matter. You could put Diamantis. The idea is just to give a little bit of heal to the team. Here in Nezarel, this is just for her chain. If you want to use someone else, if you're not using Miri, it's also fine. Again, you got to figure out your exact strat, but this is honestly one of the highest damaging teams you're going to be able to find out there. So I hope this helps you guys have a basic understanding on how to run it. And if you have any questions, opinion, just write down in the comments below. Have a good day, guys.